Well, thank you very much, Chairman Alexander, Ranking Member Feinstein. Appreciate all your work, as always, on this really critical committee. Thank you. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here. Let me start with the Hanford site in Central Washington. I was particularly concerned to see that the budget proposed a $700 million cut from last year's funding level, and specifically a 39% cut to the total operations for RL. Whether it's a cleanup of the highly contaminated soil under the 324 building, or a risk mitigation program that addresses highly contaminated structures that are at the risk of a collapse, like our Purex tunnel. There are several cleanup projects underway that stand to be significantly harmed by those proposed cuts. There's a laundry list of projects to be done at RL and ORP, not to mention the many tri-party agreement milestones that are already in place. So I wanted to ask you, what assessment has DOE made on the impact that these cuts would have to the work at RL and ORP, and most importantly, to workers' safety?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate the opportunity to respond to this. The cuts that you see in the EM program, in our view, are taken from largely what are known as carryover funds. So it's funds that were available from prior year appropriations, and we engaged in a very robust conversation inside of the program to safely defer, you just mentioned Building 324, safely defer projects like that one. And what we've done there is, as you know, I'm assuming you know exactly where this place is. We were at the point of the process of the cleanup for the EM program where we're going to break through the floor and begin the extraction of the dirt. We made a determination that we could safely leave that in place, leave the floor in place, and the material that's below it is not spreading. So it's a safe thing for us to defer, and that allows us to focus on what we review as the more higher priority projects. As you know, we have milestones to meet with the Department of Ecology on things like the DF Law project. So what we've done is refocus our efforts on things like DF Law, which we will complete the construction of this year in 20 and do the hot start in 2023. So what we've done with that restructuring is focus on what we feel are the higher priority projects, things like removing the sludge from the K basins and getting it away from the river. So that's what you see as a reshifting or a shifting of the priorities within the Hanford complex itself.
Well, what I'm hearing from home is that people are really worried about the impact of these decisions on our workers. Safety is always top priority at this site. And critically, transparency between DOE and Washington State partners is absolutely essential on this. We need consistent and adequate funding levels for all of these proposals. And I will talk to you offline on this, but we are all very concerned about that. I wanted to ask you as well about Bonneville Power Administration, BPA. As you know, I've worked very hard to make sure that Bonneville Power Administration maintains its flexibility needed to provide reliable, low-cost power in the Pacific Northwest. And I'm really disappointed that your budget request doubles down on policies that we have rejected many, many times. Maybe that's why you propose it, because you know we're going to restore it. But I'm just going to, for the record, say again, I strongly oppose privatizing BPA's transmission system. It goes against current law. It'll hurt our families, and particularly low and middle income families who can't afford more expensive power bills. This proposal really amounts to nothing more than a one-time benefit to the nation's budget. One-time benefit, and it would permanently dismantle affordable power systems in the Northwest. And I'm not going to let investors get richer while our folks have to pay higher energy proposals. So overall, it just appears to me that DOE wants to dictate how BPA operates. So let me ask you straight out: will you commit to respecting BPA's authority to set policies that support the Northwest and its ratepayers?
Oh, of course, yes. I mean, the law is very clear on what BPA can and can't do, and I fully respect that. I want to assure you, though, as I told Senator Tester, unless I am directed to by Congress, I can't sell those assets anyway. So,
but you put them in your budget.
They are included in the budget. They have been included in the budget for about the last 35 or 40 years.
And we reject them.
And you have rejected them. But
thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's important to me as we move forward, should the Congress decide to take that out and to fully fund BPA, that we begin to look, however, at the importance of the PMAs to our grid resiliency overall, as I mentioned to Senator Tester. If we're going to continue to fund BPA at the levels that we fund it, we should ensure that they are fully integrated into the national security grid. But we should also recognize that over time, certain technologies like solar technologies and other are pushing down the price of electricity. So I'd love to work with you as we move forward about the rate structure and what we do with BPA as we address these issues.
We manage a lot with BPA, so we'll leave it there for right now.
Sure.
I did want to just, I know grid storage has been mentioned. You mentioned the launch pad, the grid storage launch pad that we're focused on at
PNNL.
Very important and for climate change for a lot of things, and I appreciate the strong funding in this budget for energy R&D and keystone facilities like the launch pad. Mr. Chairman, this is how we are going to be able to address a lot of issues. You put it in your budget, it is a bright spot, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Senator.